I really, really love you. And today I am here to tell you the story about how I really believe that's what I was put on this earth to do, is to love people for exactly who they are. And yet how I came to the end of my ability to do that without figuring some things out. And I think that my personal crisis of realizing that loving everyone outside of me and doing everything outside of me could not save me may be a story that you understand. So I'm hoping that today we can be together with that. I want to encourage you to be comfortable. I want a couple of housekeeping things. If you want to sit on the floor, do it. If you want to lie on the floor, do it. Do what is just going to be comfy to your body today. Also, if you want to connect with me while I'm on campus, please just take note of or take a quick picture of this is how to find me on Instagram, and I invite you to direct message me. We can grab coffee, we can have some interaction. If you want these slides, if you need resources, I would love for you to please reach out to me. Okay, so I'm Doreen, I freaking love you, and I happen to be a clinical psychologist, a speaker, an author. I love giving talks. Like this right here is my sweet space. I also have another pretty passionate sweet space when I'm one-on-one with you and can just tell you how beloved you are. But this is a pretty powerful space for me. And when Heather invited me to come, I was super excited, and she asked me to do like 5 or 6 talks, and I got all those talks ready to go, and I was just so ready, except for I just couldn't figure this one out. I kept Googling suicide facts and trying to find a fun little video to show, and I kept just pounding and pounding and pounding, and I couldn't come up with a single good slide. Now I did this, this is all true, by the way. I did this for 3 days. I spent 3 days for 2 or 3 hours a day building the slides, trying to make a deck, and I just didn't feel good. I didn't feel right. And then I realized there was a pretty good reason for that. And this brought me to a time when I couldn't actually do much of anything. And it started reminding me that, oh yeah, my body's telling me I need to pay attention. And so I shut my computer, I canceled my meetings for 2 whole days, and this is the truth. I put myself in my dark bedroom with my fan blowing on me for 2 or 3 hours at a time for a couple of days. This is something I learned to do in the second half of 2022. Now let me tell you where I was in 2022. I was sort of in this amazing place where I had captured and conquered grind culture. Don't you guys know what grind culture is? It means just going, and producing and accumulating. I had accumulated the most massive, diverse, beautiful chosen family that I love with the grit. I love my chosen children. I have 3 of them who are fully integrated into our lives. I love them as much as I love the children who came out of me. And we have built these beautiful relationships. Down here on the bottom, this person with the white mask is my fully adopted brother, Jackie. I love these people. And in 2022, I was making my way across the country trying to be at every birthday, baptism, graduation, hard event. I was trying to be there for everyone and doing an okay job. My volunteer work was going just bonkers, and I was traveling around the country doing press conferences and testifying for the area of activism that I do, which is gun violence prevention work. I was achieving it. I was meeting the vice president. I was doing big things. My books had gotten me big placements on things like Getting Curious with Jonathan Van Ness, which I got to do some splits with. Jonathan is my good friend. I got to be on the news show that I love the most, On Poor Company. I just was crushing it. I had an agent. I was getting these big, huge gigs, including this one at Belmont, right? And life was going so well. However, under the surface, I was not doing so well. I was hating myself. I was feeling self-conscious. I could not believe, and Heather can vouch for this, I could not believe that I had anything valuable to share. I would stand up here and share, and then I would go home and just loathe myself, thinking I had failed. And can any of you relate to this? Go home and you just worry about every stupid thing you've said or a weird way you've looked, right? I was also starting to make these weird mistakes. Like I would go to a hotel to check in after flying to a city and found out I had reserved that room, but for the next year. I was like waiting to check in for a flight and realized I had booked it for the wrong month. Things were not going well. And then, in a hotel room, as far away from my home city of Portland, Oregon as I could be, Orlando, Florida, I got a call and found out that my beloved chosen son, Gage, had died by suicide. This is a kiddo who I had loved for 13 years as my own. He has a beautiful mother who shares him. My children consider him their full sibling. We had celebrated every birthday, every holiday for 13 years. This is Gage, the beloved Gage, who walked children to school and back in Philadelphia so that ICE could not detain them. This is beloved Gage, who had trauma in his life but was working through it. He served everyone. He was the one at every party that was the center, that was checking in on you to see how you were doing. But then also somehow being the wildest dancer. Gage's death brought me to the absolute end of how I knew how to live. Because I had loved Gage with everything in me. And he still died. And now I am not afraid to talk about this, and I am not ashamed. I love Gage, and I want you to know him. And because he was so incredible and his life taught me so much, literally, without Gage, I would not be where I am today. He is the person that invited me into activist work. He brought me to my first ever civic action, which was a Black Lives Matter protest in Philadelphia. He just taught me so much. He definitely taught me really good dance moves. It was the thing he says he's the worst at in the world. But he brought such life to me. And I want you to know him because I am guessing that many of you have a Gage in your life. A person who you wish could have stayed, but for whom this world was so hard to live in, could not stay, right? Because I've learned these things from Gage's death, I think that some of the things I've learned could have helped Gage stay alive. And maybe some of you could benefit from some of the things I've learned. And it's important that we talk about this stuff because every 20 seconds someone in our country dies by suicide. And right now, I want to honor that. I want to honor that. I want us to spend 20 seconds, if you feel comfortable, putting your hand on your heart, maybe one on your belly, just the center of your being. Let's spend 20 seconds just thinking about the despair that exists. This is an impossibly hard time to be alive. Can anybody relate? Yeah, I see a lot of nodding. Every 20 seconds, someone dies by suicide. Every second. I'm a psychologist. I know this. Every second, people are living with hopelessness, with despair, with really difficult mental health maladies, with thoughts of suicide. One of the things I want to say to you all today is that it is very common to think about wanting to die. It is very common, even now, to think about wanting to take your life. That is not, however, an indication that it's a great idea. If we can help people to find resources, in particular the resource of their own internal self, like I did, maybe we can help people get through to the next day. The truest truth that I have come to in the last year, everybody, let's take a collective breath. I've just said a lot of really hard and sad things. Like, ready? Okay. The truest truth, you guys, your theme this year is community. And the truest truth is that if we are going to live in community, it's going to get messy up in here, right? We are going to bump into hard things. People are going to not perform or be the way they want them to be. I thought about playing this song. You guys know all the song, right? Y'all gonna make me lose my mind up in here, right? But it's really not chapel appropriate, so I chose not to play it. I just chose to put a few little words up there. But in healthy community, if we are all living in healthy community, we're going to be caregivers, right? And the tricky thing is that we hardly ever talk about the fact that in order to care for others, we have got to take care of ourselves. This is what brought me to a crisis. I was in that hotel room by myself, finding out that my beloved one had died. And I had been taking care of everyone and everything, but I had not taken care of myself. So what suicide has taught me are 8 things that I want to share with you. And then the last thing I want to do, the 9th thing, is give you an experience of what it has taught me to do. The first thing it has taught me is that we are, you are, I am, steeped in the tea of grind culture. Now, if any of you have ever gotten like coffee or tea, if any of you spilled coffee or tea on yourself on the way to class and then you've got this big stain, it's like a highlight of my clients when they come in and I've got like the big coffee stain across me. This is not easy to wash out, right? It doesn't just go away. And you have all been steeped in a culture that tells you these things. It tells you that productivity is the most important thing. It tells you that accomplishments are the most valued thing. It also says that there's an ideal standard that we should all be able to get to no matter what. It actually punishes human need. In 2 of the biggest corporations in our country now, they scan for performance. They use performance metrics in technology to evaluate their performers, or their employees. And they literally have it built into their business plan to fire the slowest 20%. This is a problem. And in academia, it's very real. We also, in grind culture, find that certain kinds of people and personalities are rewarded. Do you guys get this or relate to this? You either have to be a certain kind of smart or a certain kind of look or a certain kind of personality, right? This is a very tricky reality for us. We also have to come to terms with the fact that there is real rejection for those that don't produce. This might not, for you, be grades, but it might be social. Like, if you're not the right kind of producer and grinder in culture, then you might feel social rejection. Any of this resonating with you? I want to just check in. Yes? No? Great. I'm a big, huge call and response. If you want to amen or snap, I'm here for it. We also see that in grind culture, care for the self is not rewarded. We do not have built-in breaks. And now you guys are expected to be, available to everyone 24/7. And it's not like grind culture builds in any time or kind of reward for taking care of yourself. So the biggest lesson in this area, in terms of the fact that we've been steeped in grind culture for me, is that comparison absolutely kills. There is always some way where you will feel like you are on the bottom. Maybe you're great academically, but you do not feel great in other ways. Or great athletically, but not in other ways. Comparison kills and compassion saves. And we have to start with compassion for ourselves. I think the other thing I've learned from suicide is that in order to belong or to be effective in community, I first have to belong to myself. This is a great story about that. When I was a sophomore in college, I was an RA, and in my college, we had Walkabout was the RA training, which was this big backpacking trip for a week. I had never camped in my life. I was really not prepared for this event. And on the day that I was the leader for the day, I took I'm not a large person, so I had this big, 8-day backpack on, and I was going to be the leader, so I had this brilliant idea that I would go around to all 10 of my teammates' little areas where they were packing their backpacks, and I would take something from each of them to carry it for them, and they wouldn't even know that their backpack was lighter, but I would be giving them this big gift, right? So I literally loaded in coffee, I loaded in an extra stove, and I guess you can probably imagine what happened, but a half mile into our hike, I was like, I can't move. I literally could not go another step. And I had the most amazing experience because even though I wouldn't admit it, my entire team knew what was happening. And they brought me to this kind of hillside where I stood and looked out over the beauty of creation. And they took things off my pack so that I couldn't see who was taking what. And the lightness that I received in that is a very visceral and physical reminder that I must lighten my own path in order to have capacity for others. We must realize that we cannot love ourselves by loving others. We can't. We actually can only love others out of an abundance of love for ourselves that can flow out to others. The third thing I've learned is that I'm human and it sucks. I almost just swore just then, and that was not good. It's also a massive relief, right? How many of you have ever let your phone battery die so dead that it actually takes quite a while once you plug it in for it to actually even be usable? Anybody do that? I do it way too often, right? This is the best analogy that I have for this idea of understanding our humanity. Now, early 2022, I was acting like that wasn't true. I could just get less sleep. There were many days where I was getting 1 or 2 hours of sleep. I could just eat less food and power through. Not so much after Gage died and the whole world felt upside down for me. If we let our battery, our emotional battery, our spiritual battery, the battery that is ourself, get so depleted, we literally don't have anything to give others. And the longer we deny that, the longer we go into negative battery mode, the harder it is to get charged. Another thing that I learned is that thoughts cannot fix feelings. We all have feelings. They are messy. They are confusing. But trying to kind of get through them by understanding them will never work. Our feelings are not controlled by our rational minds. So we have to find ways of working them through. The way that I think about this is like a sponge. You know, if you've used a sponge and you've kind of cleaned up messes all day long, when you go to clean up that 5th or 6th mess, if you haven't squeezed it out, you'll just make a bigger mess, right? Sometimes we have to take deliberate time and energy to squeeze out, to let all those feelings come. Get in your car and scream if you need to scream. Get in bed and cry. Let the feelings work themselves through. Another thing I've learned and really had reinforced for me is that trauma lives in our bodies. And very likely some of you have dealt with traumas, either big ones, big T traumas, or small ones. And this is what happens in your body when you have a trauma. Life pre-trauma is like you're just walking around in a field, blue sky, green grass, you can feel the air, it's lovely. You notice a little kind of round thing on the ground, but you don't think too much about it. And then all of a sudden, you take another step and you feel adrenaline flowing through your body. Your body has gone into fight, flight, freeze, or faint, and you look down and that little coiled object was a snake. Well, the tricky part about that is your body has just encoded that whenever you see a little round object, you should go into like panic trauma mode, safety mode, fight, flight, freeze, or faint. The problem is that there are lots of little round objects that are not snakes, right? So for me, I had a trauma that happened at the beginning of the school year, and I was thinking about backpacks, and I bought a backpack the day before this big trauma happened. And every year when back to school happens, and I see all the backpacks, I think like, trauma's gonna happen. Can you guys relate to this? So this is why it's so important, because that trauma lives in our bodies, that we pay attention to and take care of the trauma. We take care of and release all of the feelings. The ability to pause is a superpower, because when you're having that trauma response, or when you're realizing that you are feeling quite hopeless and depressed, when you are feeling like it would be better for you to be dead, when you feel like the world would be better without you in it, if you can just take a 3-minute pause, that's all, to do what we're going to do at the end of this time, which is to find a way back to a little tiny flame of love in your heart for yourself. Pausing is huge and will change your life. Come to the rest session tomorrow, and I will teach you how to pause in the most delicious ways. I also have learned to communicate a little differently. When I now know that I'm at my limit, I need to squeeze out that sponge. I can't pick up that extra cooking stove. My battery is already dead. Instead of saying like, I can't do that, I will say something like, I have never learned how to stop and love myself first. I can learn it. rather than feeling like I just can't. Or instead of saying like, oh, I'll disappoint my friends by saying no because I'm feeling really overwhelmed and I have some feelings to work through, I can stop and pause and say, I think this friendship can maybe handle me stepping back a bit to get centered within myself. The last thing that suicide has taught me is that I promise you that there are people out there who want to help. If you have not found them yet, they are there, I promise you. And Mr. Rogers, my hero of all time, always said, whatever is mentionable is manageable. It's okay for you to tell someone who is trusted and grounded that you feel like you want to die or that you are so depressed and hopeless. It's okay to say that you feel despairing and depressed. It's okay to go and talk to a trusted person who is grounded and healthy and say, I'm concerned about my friend who is not feeling stable or grounded to me. And if you don't have that person that you can go to, you can at any time, day or night, call 988, which is the most amazing thing. In the past, when we felt like we could keep living, we had to call 911, which went to places that were not trained. Now we can call 988, and who answers the phone is someone like me. It's a mental health person who does the work of answering 988 calls because they freaking love you, even though they don't know you. And they have resources for you that you can use. And I want you to be empowered to use them. And even if you just need help helping a friend, this is a resource that is available to you. Okay, I've given you some images in the last 30 minutes, some ways of thinking about how you might begin to center loving yourself, caring for yourself, as you think about being in this messy community where it's going to get messy up in here. Y'all going to make me lose my mind up in here. I would love for you to center in on whichever of these images really made sense to you today. And we're just going to have 5 minutes together of getting grounded, of centering ourselves in this profound, tricky, messy, impossible business of caring about ourselves. If you want to get on the floor, you can. We're going to do a 5-minute experience. If you want to stay where you are, but spread out, get comfy. If you're comfortable, close your eyes. If not, just soften your gaze. Look through your eyelashes at a point far away. If it feels comforting or soothing to yourself, put one hand on your heart, another hand on your belly, or both hands on your heart. Just take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth, in through your nose, and out through your mouth. And now if you've put your hand on your heart, or if you haven't, I want you to imagine that in your heart is this little tiny light. Remember that song? This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. I want you to picture that little flame in your heart. That light that is just you. Your unique, beautiful, brilliant light that you bring to this world. And on the next inhale, I want you to imagine that oxygen you inhale in makes that flame just a little bit brighter. Ready? And as you exhale out, that flame gets a little bit wider. That flame getting a little brighter on the inhale and wider on the exhale. Inhaling in the love in this room to make that flame brighter. And exhaling out so it becomes so wide that it begins to fill your whole body. Each inhale feeding the flame. Each exhale And now let's imagine that this flame, this light that is yours, is something that you love. And if you can't love it, maybe you at least like it a little bit. The you-ness that is only you. This is a pause, y'all. God made that unique flame that is you. And now continuing to just let it become brighter and wider until the flame that is uniquely you bursts out of you. It just can't be contained anymore. And it commingles with the uniqueness that is everyone else in this room. That together we are creating a web of support and of communal love that says, your uniqueness is important for the mess that is this community. Just continue to breathe in and out. I am going to ring some chimes that just are meant to just keep your eyes closed, meant to just calm your nervous system. And then Heather will come and close us out. Could you join